sorry for taking so long to bring this to you. Unfortunately, after doing the worst of list and drinking toilet duck, I was over here for a couple of days. Okay, once again, this is my top 10 favorite movies of the year. If yours is different than mine, good for you. Let me know in the comments below, what were your 10 favorites? Do you agree? Did you even hear about some of these movies I'm going to talk about? And of course, spoilers are ahead. So, for this one, let's go for number 10. In summer, we can taste the Nighthouse. Oh man, this, first of all, as soon as I saw Rebecca Hall was going to star in this movie, I knew I had to see it. She is a phenomenal actress in this movie. And the fact that half the time she's playing against herself in this psychological horror movie about this woman who just had her husband commit suicide. And now she's finding out all these little secrets about him. And when you get to the end and finally find out the true story of everything that's going on, it is absolutely heartbreaking, and it does make for a movie that you can rewatch over and over again just to see if you picked up the points. I will say there is a spectacular scene where, because Rebecca Hall's character plays a teacher, and she's sitting there grading, and one of her students' parents come in and complains about the grade he got. And she was like, well, he didn't do his work. And then when the mom comes back and says, well, you weren't here for it, Rebecca Hall comes right at her and said, yeah, because I was at my husband's funeral. He killed himself. Would you like your son to get a B? Or do you want your son to get an A? And the look on the mom's face is priceless. And she's like, a B is fine. And it's just a tremendous acting scene where you see like all her grief come out all at once. And there's even a bar scene that kind of plays out the same way, where she's with a bunch of her fellow teachers. It is so, like, it's just a powerhouse performance. I know horror movies don't get a lot of love when it comes to award season, but Rebecca Hall is great in this. She's great in anything. She elevated Godzilla vs. Kong for whatever she could do in that movie. So yeah, number 10 is The Nighthouse. Let's go to number 9. Nobody, yes, starring Bob Odenkirk. Written and produced by the people of the John Wick franchise. And you can tell, this is just an unapologetic, no-nonsense action movie. For everyone who's spunking over the bus scene in Shang-Chi and the Legend of Coral Rings, or whatever the hell it's called, you need to see the fight scene, the bus scene in this movie. It is brutal. It is well choreographed, well shot, and oh my god, the MVP of this movie is Christopher Lloyd. At the age of 178, he is such a badass in this movie. I loved it. I remember seeing it with Jeff in IMAX. There was a part where I can't remember what was good. There's this huge action scene going on, and Bob Odenkirk, the main character, asks for something, and Jeff just screams out, "Dude, your dad is right there! Tell him!" That's how much of a badass Christopher Lloyd is in this movie, even in his frail state at his age. This was just straightforward action. It was a bit cheesy. The whole thing starts off much like the first John Wick. It's just escalating incident after incident until you get these huge, spectacular fight scenes. A lot of movies should learn from these guys. It is wonderful. Yeah, I really had a blast with this movie. So let's go to number 8. Pig, starring Nicolas Cage. I know a lot of people came into this movie thinking this is going to be a John Wick style movie because it's about Nicolas Cage's character who has someone break into his house and steal his truffle pig. And it's not that type of movie. This is a very slow-moving movie, but Nicolas Cage just carries it with this quiet demeanor and this whole attitude is he just wants his pig back. And yeah, that does sound snicker-worthy, but it's not. It really is a person dealing with grief and loss, and all the people that he touched around him, seeing what he's done, because he's basically living in a shack by himself. And his performance is just so quietly mesmerizing. This is a movie that could have easily been very boring because it is slow. And the main character really doesn't talk much. He actually doesn't talk for like the first 5 or 6 minutes of the movie. That's a kind of a theme in my list this year. But it quickly escalates, and he just goes through places, and he's carried around by Alexander Wolf, who's his dealer. He's the one who buys the truffles from him. And you slowly peel back the layers of all his character and what he meant to all these other people in these scenes. There's one special scene where he's talking to another chef and just breaks him down and makes him cry. But he doesn't yell at him. He doesn't scream. He just quickly dissects the guy's dream and what he's looking for. And it ends in just a satisfying way, especially when you find out what the pig meant to him. It was really good. I highly suggest everyone go out to. Nicolas Cage is great in this movie, and no, there's no freak out, so there's that. All right, let's go to number 7. A Quiet Place 2. This is a horror movie. I have a lot of horror movies on my list this year, surprisingly. This is a horror movie where the sequel is actually just as good as the first one. I love the balancing act, because literally at any time in this movie, there's 3 different stories running concurrently. There's the deaf girl, there's the son, and then there's Emily Blunt's character. And it could be really easy to lose track of who everyone is, but the movie's done so well, directed by John Krasinski again, that you never lose sight of them. And I love the addition of the guy who plays Scarecrow from Batman Begins. I really enjoyed his character. Yes, it does end on a cliffhanger, but I just love the elements they added to the world. I love the scenes where you were watching the movie through the deaf girl's point of view, where literally all the sound drowned out. It really did add an extra layer of suspense to the movie. This was a lot of fun. One of the bad things about it, though, is it came out earlier in the year, so I think a lot of people kind of forgot about it. But yeah, A Quiet Place 2. If you love the first one, you'll like this one just as much. Let's go to number 6. And if we make a little space, Antlers. This is a movie produced by Guillermo del Toro, and I just love the world of it. It was directed by the same person who did Out of the Furnace, and it feels like it. I love the fact that they give you just enough information for each character without overloading you, but you can also tell that there are things around the edges of all these characters. I do like the fact that they showed restraint by not showing the monster too much, really until the end of the movie, I believe the last 10 minutes. But there's so much darkness surrounding these people, whether it's the main character or Jesse Pleasant's character. Of course, there's a lot of darkness around the main character, the kid. But there's no really exposition dumps. There is one in the middle talking about what the monster is, but that's fine. But there's a lot, you can tell there's a lot of things underlying these characters. And I like the fact that the movie's smart enough not to stop the movie and straight out tell us what's going on. They're just giving you hints and details of these characters. And I like that particularly in this type of movie because it allows you to kind of formulate your own guesses. There's this whole thing about the main character who keeps going to a grocery store looking at the liquor bottles behind the counter but never buying it, but it's never mentioned, and she has no effects that we know of that she's an alcoholic. And definitely setting it in a small town helped it. especially a town where a lot of different things are happening and how they made money. And it does help that they do give you hints of things around them. Like there's a newscast saying how Donald Trump wants to open up coal mines again, where this is a small town where in Oregon, where that's how that's why this town was originally there, to mine coal. And it's a down on its luck time. I really enjoyed the little kid actor, and boy, what the ending really did break my heart, especially what the main character has to do once the monster is killed. The second action, and I'm not going to spoil this part, really did break my heart, especially for anyone who's a parent. I think it would break your heart too. So, yeah, Antlers, loved it. Let's go to number 5. Easily the best cartoon movie of the year, and I know I saw most of them in a year when most of the cartoon movies sucked. Ron's Gone Wrong. This movie is a delight. It is so funny. It is so not even on the nose. It's just so well crafted. It looks beautiful. The main character, Barney's very relatable. I loved Ron, that little bot. I wanted one of them. It does have an issue that it does have 2/3 acts, but I don't care. It is so fun, and it goes to places I didn't think cartoon movies would go. This is definitely earning its PG rating, whether it's the robot threatening to rip the head off of a bully, or him setting fire to stuff, where the main character, Barney, almost dies in the woods because he's an asthmatic and he doesn't have an inhaler. It is wonderful, and I do like the fact that all the student characters who you think are one-dimensional characters are not. There's more to them. It's just what they've been turned into because of these bots that plug them into social media. And I do like at the end where they don't hit you over the head and say social media is bad, get off of it. They're just telling you, find a balance. There are people right next to you. You don't always have to listen to the algorithms of social media. Go out and meet someone. You can do both. Ain't that something? So, yeah, Ron's Gone Wrong. Loved it. Saw it 3 times in theaters. I bought the Blu-ray. Let's go to the next movie, number 4. The unfortunately titled Copshop is really one of the best unknown movies I've seen this year. I had no idea what was going on. I was just recommended this movie starring Gerard Butler and Frank Grillo, where it's about a criminal who's running away from a hitman. But he has the bright idea to get himself arrested in this small town in Nevada. So he gets thrown in jail. Gerard Butler's character, the hitman, says, you know what? I gotta get him. Decides to get himself arrested, and they end up side by side. And most of the movie is just them in 2 different jail cells playing off of each other, and it is wonderful. I really love this movie. Also, it's kind of interesting how the main character, this female cop, the movie really doesn't have to do anything about her. She is the main character, but in all honesty, the movie she just happens to fall into the situation. The situation's not about her. I will also say, oh my God, when the second hitman comes into play, he is hilarious. He was menacing and funny, and he had one of the best lines when we find out what's going on with him and one of the other cops in the precinct. If you like action movies, this is for you. It is a whole lot of fun. It is funny. It has a very good sense of humor. And it's just the whole menacing, especially with Frank Grillo and Gerard Butler's character, literally for most of the movie, playing in 2 different cells, just going back and forth on what's going on. Meanwhile, filling in the main character, the female cop, about what Frank Grillo's character is about. I didn't expect to love this movie as much, so yeah, but it's my number 4. So let's go to number 3. The Suicide Squad, yes. To me, this is hands down the best comic book movie of the year. I did not expect to love this movie this much. I saw it 5 times in theaters. I just love that James Gunn came out and took these characters that I knew jack all of nothing about and made me care about them a lot. Like, I had no idea who Ratcatcher 2 is. I didn't even know who 1 is. And they really... she really brought the feeling in this movie. John Cena he was really on point. At first, I didn't think the humor was too good at the beginning, but there are parts of the movie, especially in the third act, where he has to flip the switch between menacing and sorry, and there are moments where he has to be a villain, but you can see the humanity in his eyes, and you can see that he really didn't want to do what he was doing. Idris Elba, another character standout. And who's gonna forget King Shark? I have disguise. You have a disguise? Si. Oh, he's learning Spanish now. Oh, what's your disguise? Fake mustache. There's so many of King Shark's lines I loved in this movie. He was a standout, but to me, Ratcatcher 2 definitely stole my heart in this movie. This movie, like I said, it gets weirdly emotional. I really cared about these characters, whether it's Polka Dot Man, even Rick Flag, who I hated in the first movie. Joe Kinnaman is barely recognizable in this movie compared to that one. Yeah, I love this movie. The action's on point, especially this is earning its R rating, but it's a violent movie that had a lot of heart. So yeah, that's Suicide Squad. Let's go to number 2. Nightmare Alley. Guillermo del Toro can do no wrong in my eyes. Yes, the movie's a little bit slower. Yes, it does feel like 2 different movies. But all the information from the first scene to the end makes so much sense. Those last 10 minutes, too, are absolutely heartbreaking. Bradley Cooper plays a man who cannot find his own hubris. He is the literal definition of staring into the sun. He cannot stop. But he also has a sinister side to him that we kind of see at the beginning, but we don't know what's really going on until the end, when you see just everything fall apart around him. Willem Dafoe really has this scene where he's just eating steak with Bradley Cooper, and he's explaining something to him. But much like that scene and everything else that happens in the carnival for Bradley Cooper, it comes back to haunt him in the second half of the movie. And Cate Blanchett, as his adversary, lover, partner in crime, she is wonderful. She has to be nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I really liked her. And the end of the movie, the first time I saw it, I knew what was going on, and I was shaking. Because I was like, don't do it. And then that last line of the movie really broke my heart. For bad guy in this movie, I truly did feel sorry for him, especially his plight. And just watch for the last 10 minutes, you will get the symbolism all the way through as everything comes fully around. But yeah, Bradley Cooper's really good in this movie. Cate Blanchett. Ron Perlman, just because I like saying his name, he's fun in the movie. Toni Collette's really good too. Yeah, this is an all-star cast, and it was really, I still have this movie in my mind, but it's not my number 1 movie. Let's find out what my number 1 movie is. To be free, don't worry about me. Belfast. This is easily the tightest. I really don't have any issues with this movie, in all honesty. That's why it's my number 1. From the way it's shot in black and white, from the decision to take the point of view of this community in Ireland that's having wars and fights because you have 2 different religious types in there. And to have the eyes of a child really did, especially that opening scene where the kid was literally going from a neighborhood with a bunch of his friends playing, all of a sudden on the drop of a hat, a riot starts, and you see people throwing things through through people's houses and windows, and beating up other people, setting cars on fire, literally stopping and go, no, these guys are with our religion, let's go over here. To the scenes where the little kid is talking to his grandparents. I love the grandparents in this movie. 2 more people who need to be nominated for Best Supporting Actors and Actress. They're so much fun together, and as they shoot the shit on each other, but you can tell that they still love each other. There's a scene with the father and the mother of the kid where the father's serenading her, and it's such a gorgeous scene, from the song that they used, from the way it's shot, because of it, and because it was black and white. It was gorgeous. I really love this movie. Even to the message at the end, when sees this girl he has a crush on, and he tells, do you like her? And he goes, yeah. He goes, but she's not the same religion as us. And the father goes, I don't care. She can be whatever she want to be. As long as she's good to you and you like her, there's always a seat for her at the table. I really like this movie. And it is kind of semi-biographical for Kenneth Branagh, but yeah, that's my number 1 movie. So that's it for 2021. 2022 is going to have a bunch of movies as well, and hopefully I'll be here to review them. If you agree with if you didn't know any of these movies that I was talking about, feel free to check them out. I hope you check them out, and let me know if you do and what your thoughts are. If you thought I missed a movie that you liked, that's cool, let me know. There are a couple movies that I kind of left out because to me they weren't top 10 material. So until next time, enjoy your day, and I will be back later this week with a movie review. Bye!